Researchers hit what was called the surface states barrier. It was physicists water containing.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to participate in this event hosted by the 6G Industry Association. And it is about more than telecom research. It is about who imagines it, who builds it, who benefits from it, and who is being left behind. Europe's leadership in 6G and advanced networks will depend very much on the diversity of talent, which largely influences technical excellence. Let me start stressing a simple message. If the next generation of networks is predominantly built only by researchers coming only from half of the population, it will not fulfill its potential. Technology may seem neutral, but the teams that design it are not. The questions they ask, the assumptions they make, and the problems they see are shaped by the people in the room. And today, that room is still often male-dominated. To start, we have clear evidence of the ICT skills gap. And the EU has set, therefore, an ambitious target to have 20 million ICT specialists by 2030. And we are only halfway there. And even worse, women still represent less than 20% of ICT specialists in the EU. This must not continue. Because at the same time, students are falling short of basic STEM skills. Too many lack a solid foundation in math, science, and in vocational training, the gender imbalance is even starker. And the pipeline is narrowing where it should be widening. Girls and young women, even if they start in STEM, but at key transitional moments around university, PhD, or early career, many of those disappear. This is often not because they lack talent, but because the structures around them do not support them enough. We cannot afford economically and politically to underuse women's talent, especially when demand for AI, cybersecurity, semiconductors, and telecom skills is rising so fast as part of our digital transition. This is why role models, mentoring, and early outreach matter so much. When women in telecoms and research speak in schools, visit labs, or step onto stages like this, they send a message. This path is for you too. Visibility creates possibility. It helps girls and young women to see that they can be both, a scientist and a mother, an engineer and a leader. At the European Commission, we are turning this into structured action. Through the Union of Skills, the STEM Education Strategic Plan, and the Action Plan on Basic Skills, we want to, first, strengthen foundational digital and STEM skills. Second, make STEM education more inclusive and attractive. And third, create flexible pathways so women and other underrepresented groups can enter and re-enter digital careers. But policy alone is not enough. Industry, academia must also act. Inclusion must be built into how we recruit, train, promote, and retain talent. Research and practice show that diverse teams are more creative, more innovative, and more likely to produce impactful patents and papers. So gender equality is a society, academic, and business objective for the telecom sector and beyond. This brings me to my final point. Leadership starts with a choice. Should we have systems that push people out when their life change, or should we promote systems that support them through those changes? Flexible work, childcare support, Clear path to leadership and transparent processes are the conditions that allow women to stay in the pipeline and to reach the heart of innovation. We need more and better connectivity, but are we willing to mobilize all of the potential talent we have to build it? Because if we do, the next wave of connectivity will not just be faster, it will also be smarter, fairer, and more complete. So let us stop asking, are women present enough in telecom research, and start asking, who may we be missing, and how do we contribute bringing them in? That's the direction to travel. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to address you at the 2026 EuCNC 6G Summit in Malaga. It's an honor and a privilege. My name is Gabriella Sebardt. I chair the Business Europe Equal Opportunities Network. We represent businesses of all sizes in all EU member states. My base is Sweden, where I work as Director for Social Affairs at the Confederation of Swedish Enterprise. In these times of chronic skills and labor shortages, women's economic activity matters greatly. Women represent the highest potential for increasing the labor force in Europe. We call this policy all hands on deck, and to cite EU Commissioner Labib, talent has no gender. In telecommunications, talent is strategy. If we want Europe to lead on 6G, resilient networks, and AI-enabled connectivity, then we need to access this talent pool. That is why gender equality is not only a societal goal, it is a competitiveness goal for the telecommunications sector, just as it is for all European businesses. We already know the challenges. Europe needs 20 million ICT specialists by 2030. And yet women are still underrepresented where telecom hires the most. Here are some sinister facts. Only 1 in 3 STEM graduates is a woman. Only 1 in 5 ICT specialists is a woman. And at age 15, about 1 in 10 boys expects to work in ICT, compared with just 1 in 100 girls. If we don't change this pipeline, we won't have the engineers, the technicians, or the researchers we need for 6G and beyond. So what does work? We're calling for targeted action in 3 areas: the labor market, culture attitudes, and education systems. First, remove practical barriers that push women out of the workforce. Focus especially on affordable childcare, but also on taxation and social protection systems that create disincentives for second earners. Second, challenge stereotypes early, so girls see telecom, engineering, and coding as normal, exciting options. Third, strengthen the STEM to ICT pathway, modernize vocational education and training, and scale up digital skills for the jobs our networks need. This is where women in telecommunication and research makes a difference. Visibility, mentoring, peer support. So women enter telecom, stay in telecom, and progress into telecommunication leadership. I wish the Women in Telecommunication Research Session and the Summit every success. Business Europe stands ready to work with you, the industry, researchers, and policymakers to make things happen. Thank you, and the best of luck.
Good morning. My name is Silvia Almagia. I'm Director of Software and Standards at ETSI. This is where we are today. And here I lead a team of experts driving open source initiatives in support of standardization. I'd like to start by thanking the organizers of this Women in Technology and Research session at EuCNC for the invitation to share some thoughts today about gender gap in technology, and actually giving me the chance to reflect a little bit about it. I have worked many years in telecom software engineering and standardization, the last 15 with ETSI. And far too often, and probably like many of you, I have been the only woman in the room. Today, we're building technologies that will shape our future. AI, connectivity, and digital infrastructures will define how we live, how we work, and how we connect for the years to come. And we need to ask ourselves this question: who's shaping that future? the gender gap in technology and research is still quite significant. And this is not only a problem of representation. It's impacting innovation, it's impacting quality, resilience, and global competitiveness. In technology, homogeneous teams create blind spots. Diversity is not a side goal. It's a condition for building robust, trusted, and inclusive technology. Because when perspectives are missing, opportunities are missed. And when diversity is limited, so is our ability to build technologies that truly serve everyone. ETSI is the place where technologies are discussed, developed, and transformed into global standards. Our committees and software groups are where ideas become reality, where technologies evolve into frameworks that may impact millions of people. These communities aim to bring together all types of stakeholders: researchers, operators, vendors, academia, SMEs, and users from all over the world. You might think they are diverse by nature, and yet too few women are present in these rooms. In my role, connecting open source, research, and standardization activities, I can see how participating in these communities can change careers and bring amazing opportunities. Those who engage early, contribute, and collaborate are often those who later on will help shape decisions. Open source brings an additional path for inclusion. It creates accessible global channels for people to learn, to contribute, and to demonstrate their expertise. It allows talent to emerge based on contribution and not just affiliation. But openness alone is not enough. Communities in open source, standardization, and research do not become inclusive by default. They need to be designed for inclusion through mentorship, visible role models, inclusive governance, and active support for diverse talent. We need to lower barriers, we need to broaden participation, and we need to define clear pathways from first contribution to leadership, from learning to influencing. For this purpose, we are developing the ETSI Learning Hub, a platform open to all and designed to help students and young professionals to develop the skills needed to engage in ICT standardization. And I would like to invite every one of you, and especially women and the younger generation, to connect and discover what a career in standardization might look like. Because inclusiveness is a shared responsibility for industry, for academia, for research, and for open source and standards community, but also for every one of us, men and women in technology. I did not grow up with a female role model in tech. But if I am where I am today, it's because I was empowered, encouraged, and supported by the people around me. I was deeply inspired by strong women, my mom and my grandmothers, who raised and took care of their families through very turbulent times in Europe. I was encouraged by a dad who always told me I could go as far as I would decide, and by a younger brother who saw me as his role model. Later in life, I was supported by a partner who took my career as seriously as his own as we were raising our own family. Today, we are proud parents of 3 girls in STEM, and maybe I want to think we are their role models as well. So this is my message to everyone, women and men alike. Inspire your daughters, empower young girls, but also support your partners. Because inclusion is not only built in schools, companies, and communities, it is also built at home. And for young women to dare and succeed a career in technology, they need to feel empowered and supported at school, at work, and at home. Because the technology we're shaping must not only be innovative, it must be robust, trusted, and inclusive to serve our diverse society. And this is something we can only build together. And with this, I want to wish you a very nice and productive WiTaR session at EuCNC 2026. Thank you.
Bell Labs has always been a place where curiosity meets consequence, where fundamental research ideas leads to invention that reshape the world. The transistor, information theory, Unix, C programming. I'm Meryem, Simsek, head of software and data systems research lab. We are the descendant researchers of the former Unix team. In over 100 years, Bell Labs has made groundbreaking innovations in radio, astronomy, information theory, cellular communications, the solar cell, the laser, the Telstar satellite, the charge-coupled device, and the Unix operating system, amongst others. Inventions that paved the path to the internet. These didn't emerge from homogeneous thinking. They came from collisions of ideas across disciplines, and that is not an accident. At its core, the Bell Labs philosophy is about freedom to explore. You give brilliant people a hard problem, remove bureaucratic barriers, and trust the process. That philosophy only works when the pool of brilliant people is drawn from the widest possible talent base. In fact, Unix was invented because the two computer scientists, Ken Thompson and Dennis Ritchie, wanted to play a space travel game and faced the computational limits of that time. Hence, they accidentally engineered the future because of their curiosity. Interdisciplinary collaboration is in our DNA. Physicists working alongside with mathematicians, alongside engineers. That friction between different ways of thinking is the innovation engine. A vivid example of this is the development of the solid-state transistor. Researchers hit what was called the surface states barrier. It was physicist Walter Brattain working alongside electrochemist Robert Gibney, two entirely separate fields that broke through this barrier. That cross-disciplinary friction was the innovation engine. And diversity isn't just a social initiative, it's a research strategy. Homogeneous teams tend to optimize, diverse teams tend to discover, innovate, and be impactful. And this is proven by data of multiple studies. Discovery, innovation, and impact is what we are here for. This applies across every dimension of diversity: gender, cultural background, academic discipline, career trajectories. As a matter of fact, some of our most important insights come from people who arrived here by an unconventional path. At a global perspective, we believe that science has no borders. Talent doesn't cluster in one country or one continent. My own journey started in Europe, and I'm continuing my research here in the US. This taught me that different scientific cultures ask questions differently, and that is enormously valuable. When you bring together people who were trained differently, who frame problems differently, you dramatically expand your solution space. And the next breakthrough may come from someone who frames the problem in a way we haven't seen before, precisely because they were trained differently. On being a woman in this field, we know that numbers in STEM, be it in physics, engineering, and others, still don't reflect the available talent pool. That is not a pipeline problem alone. It's a cultural problem we all share responsibility for solving. What I can say from my experience is when institutions actively create conditions for inclusion, the quality of work improves measurably, not just morally. And that's what we have a mission as here at Bell Labs. If you want incremental progress, surround yourself with people who think like you. But if you really want transformational impact, that kind that defines decades, you need the full spectrum. Building a diverse research environment is not an oversight achievement, and I'm aware of that. It requires intentional hiring, mentorship, sponsorship, a genuine willingness to listen to voices that have historically been quieter in the room. In fact, studies show a widening gap between organizations that have embraced inclusion and those that haven't, and a growing performance penalty for those falling behind. I am convinced that the next breakthrough in information theory will come from someone we haven't heard from yet. And our job as leaders, scientists, and institutions is to make sure that that person has a seat at the table.